Hello, and welcome to a sad and sleepy Wednesday edition of the
No,
Daily
you can't
Fantasy.
do that.
Why not? Why
Because
can't I
it's
do
not
that?
sad or sleepy.
Yeah, it is. It's both.
It's not sad and sleepy.
Sad, and we're both sleepy.
You might as well just ask everybody to turn it off right at the beginning, right?
Oh God, I mean, you don't think people see? I think people like that kind of shit.
All right.
No, I don't. Okay, I'll go back to being nice and boring. Don't worry.
No, go ahead.
Nope.
I think it's funny that you think that's not boring, but
What isn't it?
I'm willing to trust your instincts.
Well, cause that's funny. Like, like, think about it. Like, what podcast like comes out and says that? That's
No, I'm telling you, I was surprised when it happened. I'm willing
right.
to trust. I'm willing to trust your instincts, though.
No, that's okay.
You gotta do you, man.
No, but you didn't
No,
like
I
it.
would do it,
I'm going
but
back.
you could do it.
I'm going back.
Oh, do your thing, man. I don't mean to stifle your creativity.
That's no. Don't worry.
Go ahead.
I'm waiting. I need this. I need when I edit it. I need that long silence. I'll never forget the hours I spent trying to cut. One because like you did like 5 or 6 takes, but you kept doing them over and over again without any interruption, and it took me years to cut it exactly. So that so I could. It didn't sound really bad.
The other thing you can do is just make a really loud sound.
What do you mean?
Well, you know how it spikes with a loud sound?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Hello, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of the Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Green, and in today's podcast, Mark Roberts and I will be discussing the news of the day, but first, a word from No Halftime. I don't have the No Halftime thing up. Oh, God. Fuck. Man. Can't believe it. Google Docs. All right, I'm starting in 5 seconds.
You're gonna be sleepy.
I don't know. I'm going to surprise you. Hello, and welcome. Oh, that was bad. I'm sorry. Hello, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of the Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Green, and in today's podcast, Mark Roberts and I will be discussing the news of the day. But first, a word from No Halftime. No Halftime is an iTunes app that works like Tinder for fantasy sports. You can swipe left or right to select the one-on-one matchup you like. Use the promo code BBALL for a free $10 at sign up. So please go check out No Halftime, where the fantasy sports season never takes a break. And with that, we are off, Mark. It is our Wednesday show. It's the middle of the week show. Most of us are in the fantasy playoffs this week, or they start next week. So it's a very pivotal, crucial time of the season for us right now. How you feeling tonight?
Best time of the year, right?
It is.
This is like Christmas in fantasy basketball. I had a question though for you, a non-basketball related question. So Tinder, I never had the opportunity to use Tinder, and I'm pretty glad about that actually. But in any case, I have no idea how it works. But I do know that you swipe left or right. I'm curious though, for No Halftime, you can swipe left or right to select the matchup you want, or to basically move on from a matchup, right? Just the same as you would on Tinder.
Right.
Is it the same direction, or are you swiping different directions?
No, that's right. If you swipe to the right on Tinder, that means that you like the girl.
Okay.
Swipe left, that means you want no part of that girl.
So is that the same as on No Halftime?
Yeah, No Halftime is right is if you like the matchup, and left is if you don't like it. I'm like 99% sure that's how it works. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
That way our listeners who use Tinder don't have to even learn a new a new swipe left or right. That could get confusing, I suppose.
Oh, dude, it would be disastrous. Absolutely, yeah. If you had to swipe left on no halftime, but right on Tinder, yeah, it'd be chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just one more reason to use no halftime.
Absolutely.
Mark, how are you doing, man? Are you things going on okay in New York?
Yeah, man, I'm doing okay. Like I was feeling really good, and then you made me sad in the pre-show. You brought up the girl that I'm currently pining over, and I told you, and then you kept telling me she has a boyfriend and telling me I had no shot. So I feel a little depressed now.
Those are, just to be clear, those aren't exactly the words I use, but it does seem pretty clear that she has a boyfriend.
Just so our listeners know, I'm not giving up. And what I'm going to do, she's out of the country right now. She's actually in Ireland for 2 weeks, which is bad timing. But I'm going to send her flowers at her office in 2 weeks from now. That's my plan. Man. We'll see if that works. Should we do a little basketball?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about basketball.
Tonight, and so this is Tuesday night's games that we're going to be talking about. And most of the news is for Tuesday and Wednesday's games. Today was a really ugly slate of games for DFS. It was really nasty. One of the uglier slates of the year. But there was.
And when you say that, what does that mean, like, to you? From a DFS perspective, just no matchups that you really like?
Yeah, first for me, like bad. Actually, I watched all the games for the most part. So a lot of games that I visually I just don't want to watch.
Right.
You have really low scoring.
So anything with Brooklyn Nets, probably, I'm guessing.
Well, right. So you had Brooklyn playing tonight. You have Atlanta and Utah. San Antonio playing against Minnesota. Just matchups. Really like either. I mean, the two things that I'll look at that are bad. Bad slates are, one, if there's if the over-unders are really low, that means it's going to be not really an appealing game to watch visually. And then if you have games that are probably going to be blowouts, like Toronto, Brooklyn, that was the spread was well over 10 for Toronto. San Antonio was a heavy favorite over Minnesota. Then you have games like the Knicks and Denver, another crappy game. Atlanta, Utah, any Utah game is never very pleasing to watch. So, quite honestly, the game of the night is probably Orlando Lakers, just because that's going to be a really fast, and Kobe's not playing, so a really fast-paced game. There's a lot of guys going to be able to put up big numbers. So a lot of my nights hinging on that matchup, and that hasn't even tipped off yet.
Yeah, I would imagine it's not a very good night if you're relying on the Lakers to pull through for you.
Dude, D'Angelo and Clarkson, man, they're both of those guys are very heavily owned. Especially D'Angelo Russell was almost like 50% owned in most leagues because his price is still it's still a little low, and especially with Kobe out, it's just his usage rate just skyrockets. He's going to get a lot of minutes, and the same with Clarkson. When Kobe's out, Clarkson, he's the number one option. So I went all in on Clarkson tonight. So there you go. And that's actually a good primer, Mark. So just so our listeners know, we're not going to abandon you guys. Once the season-long fantasy gets finished up, we're going to do shows that are almost completely DFS. Isn't that right, Mark Roberts?
Absolutely. And which should be a lot of fun during the playoffs.
It's awesome.
You can kind of slow down and focus on the matchups a little bit more. Not that you can't do that in the regular season, but you don't have to be quite as psychotic as Daniel is to be able to be aware of what's a good matchup, what's a bad matchup. The teams are all playing the same teams. You kind of know the players who are going to play. I think it becomes a little easier and more interesting to play.
And and I was surprised. I thought the playoffs were going to stink because it's not as many games each night. But the first round of the playoffs that was my favorite DFS time of the year because you have like 3 or 4 games going a night. All obviously this is the playoffs, so
they're all good matchups, right?
All good matchups, all great games to watch. It's a really cool time. And you have a lot of tournaments that you'll find on the sites like DraftKings and FanDuel that basically will have tournaments that last 2 days. So, while you only have 4 games on Monday, you also take the 4 games on Tuesday. And so it really becomes an 8-game slate, which is, pretty much a normal slate. And it's just a lot of fun. And the first 2 rounds are awesome for DFS. So, all right, Mark, let's get into some news, man.
Let's do it.
All right. So, speaking of Orlando, Nikolai? It's Nikolai, right?
I always just say Nikola, but I'm not sure that that's correct.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, Vucevic did not play. Is not going to play on Tuesday versus the Lakers due to a groin injury. Now this is kind of it's sounding more serious by the day with this guy. He had an MRI today too, which I just found out via Twitter about 5 minutes ago. They haven't released the results of the MRI. This is the second game he's missed. He said his groin's been bothering him for a while when he spoke to the press today. So they're unclear when he's going to return. Obviously, Orlando's really not playing for anything, or they're not really in contention for the East. They got to be at least 5-6 games out of the 8 spot right now.
Yeah, they're not.
So there's not really, they don't really have to rush him back. So one guy you can start to look at, Jason Smith is starting for Vucevic. Last game, Jason Smith played 23 minutes, 13 points. The killer is 2 rebounds. You're a starting center. He's basically as soft as Vucevic is. 2 rebounds. That's ridiculous. He also had 2 steals and 1 block. He's an option you should at least consider, but I still don't expect him to really ever get more than 24 to 26 minutes. Deadman walking. Deadman is the backup. I actually thought he would start over Jason Smith, but Skiles went to Jason Smith instead. Keep an eye on Deadman. Both those guys are interesting DFS options because they're basically going to be priced the minimum. But Deadman only played 8 minutes yesterday, and they're playing the Lakers tonight. That game is just about to tip off, so we can't tell you the minute distribution tonight. But what are your thoughts on Jason Smith or the whole Vucevic scenario?
I think I don't care about either of them in standard leagues yet. It'll be interesting to see how they play against a non-Golden State team. That may make them need to play a traditional center more. Clearly they didn't play those 2 48 minutes, so they're willing to play. Basically Aaron Gordon at center when they need to, and that's kind of a cool lineup. So it'll be interesting to see against the Lakers if they go with more Aaron Gordon at center, or if they sort of play those other 2 guys 48 minutes. If they start playing Jason Smith 30 or 32 minutes, I think you can start to think about that's not a very definitive statement, but I don't feel very definitively about Jason Smith, so I guess that's okay. You can start to think about streaming him if you need the stats that he's good at, which I guess is what? Points and
it's points, points, field goal percentage, and his rebound should be better than the 2 he had last game.
Yeah, again,
it's really, I think it's a limited ceiling for Jason.
So his first 36 minutes this year are 16 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks. So if you're going to pick him up for anything, it's probably block shots. Like he hasn't been rebounding this year very well at all. His career rebounds per 36 minutes is right around 7. So he's just not a rebounder. He's not a strong scorer either.
No.
I'm not. We probably already spent too much time talking about him. I don't care about him. Go find a better option. Yeah,
the guys really who are going to see the biggest or be the biggest beneficiaries are guys like Oladipo, Evan Fournier, even Aaron Gordon, because
and that sounds weird, but it's true.
Vucevic was. I don't know how many shots he was taking. I don't have his stats up on my screen, but he was probably their first or second option. So it's going to open up a lot of shots. So now I'm a big fan of Oladipo. Especially in DFS or no halftime thing. Also Aaron Gordon, like you said. They can go to a lineup with Peyton, Oladipo, Evan Fournier, Hazonia, and Aaron Gordon. They can do some really funky lineups. Playing small, like you said, playing really fast. So it's going to open up some more shots for guys, and so be on the lookout to see who's getting more shots. But I really do like Oladipo, Evan Fournier, and Aaron Gordon a lot more right now.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving on, Mark. We have our first Luis Scola mention of the year, which you pointed out to me, and probably our last. And sadly, this may be the last time we ever mention Luis Scola. He's like 47 years old. So
maybe we could get him to host the podcast when he's done.
Oh, that would be awesome. And or at least be a guest one night, right?
Yeah. Well, if he was willing to host,
I don't think he'd host, but but that would be awesome if he would.
We'd have to consider it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Luis Scola. Toronto did a couple weird switches tonight, or I thought they were weird. They rested Luis Scola. They're playing Brooklyn, so I guess that's probably why they did it. Brooklyn is a joke of a team, and then Brooklyn actually made a game of it and was winning, and Toronto made a late run to beat Brooklyn, but the move almost backfired on them. They rested Luis Scola, and they also started Jason Thompson over James Johnson on Tuesday. So Jason Thompson started for James Johnson, and is it Dwight Powell? I think it's Dwight Powell.
This Dwight Powell resides in Dallas. This is Norman Powell, who's a guard.
I'm off to a horrible start on this podcast.
You're good, man.
So Norman Powell started. The fact that I don't know his first name, that should tell you everything you need to know about that guy. There's no way in hell I'm picking up Norman Powell in any league. I don't care if he's starting. So that's what went on for Toronto tonight.
We should just call these the don't pick. We should call this segment the "Don't pick these guys up" segment.
Yes, I mean, like Jason Thompson, I actually played him a lot in DFS. I don't mind him in a site like that.
Fine.
But in terms of trying to stream guys, I would stay away from these two. And plus, Scola is going to be back on Thursday, they said. So not really much there. Lance Thomas, Mark, has a sore knee. He did not play Tuesday against the Nuggets. I'm trying to see what's going on in this game. I pull up the thing. Normally, what this means, it means Aaron Afalo can play more small forward, and Langston Gangster Galloway can get a little more minutes. But as I look at the box score right now, New York is losing to Denver 68-82, and it looks like the Knicks are a disaster. I mean, nothing exciting there. So it's not really that interesting of news.
Who on the Knicks are you holding in a standard league?
I mean, Robin Lopez I would still hold, even though he's killing me in DFS tonight. If I had him, I still think he's a viable player. He's been playing really well tonight. I think tonight is kind of an anomaly. Carmelo, obviously, and then like what Kurt Rambis has done to Porzingis has been a felony. He should be arrested. It's just criminal. He's playing him like 24 minutes a night. Now I know Porzingis is a little banged up with a leg injury and missed the last game. But Rambis is just a walking. He makes Sam Mitchell look like a coach of the year. Very disappointing. I guess
No. Porzingis is playing 26 minutes a game over the last 2 weeks. He's playing 28 minutes a game over the course of this season.
Yeah, but you can't look at that. That's completely skewed because Derek Fisher limited his minutes so much the first 2 months he was playing.
Okay. So if you just take the past 2 months, he's playing 28.5 minutes per game.
Okay, so maybe. So
I think his minutes have been kind of limited all season.
I mean, there was a stretch, Mark, where he was playing legitimately well over 30 minutes every night for at least a month. Right around before the All-Star break and after. I would say the last month or so before Derek Fisher got fired. But maybe if the stats don't back me up, maybe I was just remembering things incorrectly. But he was putting up monster numbers, and he was absolutely someone you should own. The question now is, what do you do with Porzingis? You can't be having a guy who's going to play such limited minutes, and he's dealing with some injuries right now.
The injuries make it hard, but he's still got such a diverse stat line. I'm not giving up on him. So the last 2 weeks, you're looking at 25 and a half minutes, I guess, close to 26. He's still getting you 15 points, 5.5 rebounds. You don't love the rebounds, but he's getting you a 3-pointer, a steal, and 2 blocks per game. Like you want it to be more than that, and I get that. Like he's capable of more. We've seen, to your point, we've seen him have better stretches than this. So he's not going to win the league for you, but he's certainly better than anybody on your waiver wire, unless you play an extremely shallow league. So I think you definitely hold him. I was talking, on the Knicks, I'm thinking more of guys like, Aaron Aflalo's owned in almost 60% of Yahoo leagues. Jose Calderon's owned in about 40% of Yahoo leagues. Lopez obviously is owned in about 80% of Yahoo leagues.
I really have no issue with dropping Aflalo or Calderon. I think you can pick up that value on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Those guys, to me,
I think they've been over-owned all season. Although I would say we've been a little hard on Calderon. Like I think we've treated him as somebody you don't even want to go near, and he's had a season worthy of streaming just because he gets about 4 assists a game, which as we were discussing earlier, is worth owning.
I mean, you actually make a good point. You're correct. I mean, the issue there is one of just visually, right? So when you watch him play and you watch the Knicks play, you're like, why is this bum who can't move, who can't defend on the court? But his stats do probably warrant that he probably should have been someone who was on the cusp of being owned. And
he's just a stream guy for assists. No, I mean his stats are even boring to look at, right? Like for the season, he's averaged 8 points and 4 assists,
right,
to go along with the 3-pointer and a steal. Like that is as boring as it gets. But because assists are hard to find, and he's getting you a 3-pointer and a steal to go along with him, it's worth like picking up and streaming if you need to.
Yeah, the one guy from the Knicks that I would keep an eye on in terms of streaming is Derek Williams. With Lance Thomas out again, opens a little bit more minutes maybe for Derek Williams. If Porzingis ever misses time again, Derek Williams becomes almost an elite, maybe a little bit too strong, but a really nice streaming option. And tonight he's having another really nice game. He's a point per minute monster whenever he gets time on the court. So keep an eye on if there's ever injuries, and God only knows what Rambis is going to do from night to night. And if and since Porzingis is, let's be honest, he's their only legitimate player going forward for the future. So if Porzingis is banged up anyway and they start resting him, Derek Williams is a guy that I would pick up.
Yeah, so you're picking him up for what stats are you thinking would be helpful?
Dude, he can do a lot of different things. So he can scoring. It would be the main thing I'm picking up for with points.
And he can get some rebounds and hit like a 3-pointer or something.
Yeah, I mean it's mostly the offensive stats.
He's a little bit like a poor man's Markieff Morris. Is that fair?
A little bit.
From a stat line
temperament. Even temperament, he's kind of like Markieff a little. He's a little crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy that all year long I've been waiting for Jeremy Grant. Like I always get him, the guy with Grant from the Knicks and Grant from Philly mixed up. But I've been waiting for Grant and Galloway all year to get minutes, and it just does. I don't know if it's going to happen, man. But it just so.
Yeah.
I can't recommend picking those guys up. All right, moving on. So Lakers, Mark, Kobe Bryant, his shoulder is really messed up. He's out of Tuesday's game, and he's only 50-50 for Thursday's game. I think when Kobe's out, D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Clarkson become almost close to must plays for me in something like DFS. They run the offense completely through those guys, tons of shots. Also, when Kobe's out, Lou Williams.
Well, I was just going to say because it's Kobe and Lou Williams who are out.
Yeah, we always forget about Sweet Lou. So with Sweet Lou out,
he knows how to put up some shots.
Yeah, I'm not sure who. I mean, Byron Scott was debating between starting Nick Young and Meta World Peace. I think he ended up going with Nick Young. If Nick Young is going to start and give you 30 minutes, he's an interesting streaming guy if you need 3-pointers. So keep that in mind. Anything to add there?
I would have to be pretty desperate to go with Nick Young, honestly. Yeah.
But if I told you Nick Young,
that might be personal bias more than anything else. But
no, I mean I totally agree. But if I told you Nick Young is going to start and play 30 minutes, and you needed threes,
if I needed 3-pointers, that would be the only scenario where I would pick him up.
Right.
And I didn't want to worry about my field goal. I didn't need to worry about field goal percentage.
Correct.
Yeah.
So moving on, San Antonio. Tim Duncan rested tonight, so David West started versus Minnesota. Tony Parker rested tonight. He's also dealing with a toe issue, so Andre Miller started for him. Even though Andre Miller started, I still would prefer Patty Mills. I think he's always the better play when Tony Parker is out. With Duncan resting, David West becomes an okay guy, but usually he's still not going to get a ton of minutes. And the guy who sees – actually, what's funny about Duncan resting? If you look at like the averages and – especially like DFS-wise, LaMarcus Aldridge actually averages more points when Duncan plays than when Duncan sits out, which is an interesting stat that I've read about today.
Duncan's a good teammate. Hey, Andre Miller and David West surprisingly had very good games against the Timberwolves on Tuesday night.
What'd they do?
David West had 18 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block in 30 minutes. Andre Miller had 13 points, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 1 3-pointer. I don't think that our advice changes any, but it's sort of interesting to see. And I don't expect them to rest. I think this was just I don't think the Spurs rest players anymore this week. I think this was just the decision because they were going up against the Timberwolves and they weren't going to lose almost no matter what. So I don't think that there's much you can do with Andre Miller and David West, but they did play better. And surprisingly enough, I would have expected, just like you, that Patty Mills would have been the main beneficiary, but he only played 18 minutes and had 7 points. So
yeah. I mean, looking at the box score right now,
it's always hard to kind of figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah,
like who's going to produce for him.
Yeah, looking at the box score, I mean, the thing that jumps out to me is the minutes. I mean, I never would have thought David West was going to lead the team in minutes with 30. Well, actually, Danny Green played 32, but David West played 30 minutes.
Well, I would have expected Kawhi Leonard to have a big game with those 3 guys out, and exactly. He didn't.
No. Well, that just shows you how good San Antonio is, their system, and how bad Minnesota is. That you can just rest anyone you want and play Kawhi half the game. It's just, I mean, LaMarcus did have a monster game, actually. 29 minutes and 29 points, 11 of 13 from the floor. I mean, dear God. So, but yeah, again, in no way can I really recommend streaming Andre Miller. I would rather go Patty Mills, although it is perplexing why Patty Mills only got 17 minutes tonight.
Yeah, just really kind of a bizarre lineup from San Antonio.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry to everybody who we recommended picking up Manu Ginobili to play on the back-to-back. He, as you mentioned, he sat out. So that was disappointing to all of us who picked him up.
Dude, but look at our boy Shabazz Muhammad, who we also recommended, though. 21 minutes tonight, 11 points.
Yeah,
seven for 8 from the line. He got a steal. Not great.
Even between the 2 games, he didn't do what I was hoping for. I was disappointed by his performance as well. In the 2 games, we recommended him because he had a back-to-back. He ended up with 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal in 38 minutes of total playing time. It's not a killer like Ginobili's was, so it was definitely the better call. But I was hoping for closer to 30 points or.
Mark,
25 points from Shabazz.
I didn't even mention this yet. You know who else rested for San Antonio today?
Who's that?
Ginobili.
Yeah, I thought you mentioned all 3 of them: Parker, Duncan, and Ginobili.
No, I only mentioned Duncan and Parker. But yeah, you're right. So Ginobili sat out too. So if you did pick up Ginobili, like a lot of us, that backfired.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So can I ask you a question, Mark?
You better believe you can.
I mean, I'm feeling a little sad because I picked up Manu Ginobili, and you told me I can't get this girl that I really like. So I'm frustrated. Have you ever been frustrated to buy tickets online, though?
I have, yeah.
That's even more frustrating, right?
Absolutely.
Most sites make it too complicated. They try to sneak in huge fees at the checkout. And that's why, my friend, you need to try SeatGeek. They've made it easier than ever to buy and sell sports and concert tickets. Now, as I mentioned last time, Mark, I want to go to this tennis event at Madison Square Garden. Thank God Maria Sharapova wasn't playing in it, by the way. You see what happened to her?
Yeah.
I mean, that was just fascinating. She was taking this quote-unquote drug or whatever it was for 10 years, and now it's a banned substance, and so she's going to be suspended. Now, who knows when she'll be back on the tour. But I'm going to this tennis event. I'm at Madison Square Garden. I got my tickets on SeatGeek. Super easy. You go to the site, very user-friendly. As Mark knows, I'm computer illiterate. I can barely do anything on here, but SeatGeek makes it easy. It gives me color-coded schemes to tell me what are good seats, what are bad seats. It gives me emails to let me know when ticket prices go down. So it is able to get really good tickets, and it gives you a number score of like 1 to 100, telling you how good your tickets were. I got an 84 mark for my ticket score.
Wow, that's better than on Sunday. You said you had an 82.
Yeah, I defeated it.
I'm still waiting to hear from a listener who can beat that score.
Yeah, maybe tennis is not. That might say more about tennis than does anything else.
No, but they're all relative to the event. I think they're all scaled to the event that you're at. So I think that's just as good as getting an NBA Finals ticket.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah.
So pat yourself on the back. Good job.
Thanks, man. So all you guys right now, to get your 20, and the best part is you also get a $20 rebate on tickets. So just download the free SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, click add a promo code, enter promo code MARK. That's in Mark Gasol, MARC, and then SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the free SeatGeek app and enter promo code MARK today.
Absolutely.
Get it done.
Go beat Daniel's 82 or 84.
84, my friend.
That's a solid score, man.
Dominating.
That's going to be tough to beat.
I wish that would give me some make up for my Ginobili performance.
Yeah, me too.
All right, more news.
2 points in 2 games.
Yeah.
What a bum.
I mean, I should have known. Playing with one testicle has to be very hard. Yes. No pun intended. I mean,
we probably shouldn't be too hard on the guy.
League pass alert, Mark. League pass alert. The results from your home state of Idaho on the Republican primary are just about to come in, although the race between Trump and Ted Cruz is too early to call.
Wow, what an update. Tell us more.
32 delegates at stake here tonight, Mark. This is it's like Super Tuesday Part 2. Very interesting so far. Donald Trump, he won the great state of Michigan tonight. He won
I'm really excited that you gave a league pass alert for not an NBA game in which you broke no news.
Well, I mean, this is actually interesting. This is really important stuff. This is the future of our country.
But you don't have any news to report.
Well, not yet. It's too early to call.
That's like me breaking in and saying, "Hey, there's going to be a Democratic nominee. We don't know who it's going to be yet."
Also, Mark, on the Democratic side, Michigan, 147 delegates up for stake. It is still too close to call with 86% of the vote in. Bernie Sanders is winning by only 34,000 votes. So right now, that's just coming down to the wire. That's the best game of the night.
That's also not news. You've given us no news.
That's debatable.
You can't break in with no news.
The Lakers are losing 26-20 after the first quarter.
All right, let's move on.
All right, more news. Going back to so we mentioned Brooklyn earlier. Thaddeus Young and Brook Lopez, they rested for no reason last game, but they did play tonight. Brook Lopez had a monster game. Thaddeus Young kind of let us down. Like me and you were talking pre-show, had 0 steals, and if you have Thaddeus Young, you really need those steals. Brook Lopez, though, he came back and played great. 35 minutes, 35 points, 13 of 17 from the floor. He's had a really great year. So just nothing really to add on that. Just know that those guys came back and they're perfectly healthy.
Play him if you got him.
Yep. Ty Lawson, Mark, our friend of the show. He signed with Indiana on Monday. He played 5 minutes on Monday, and then he sprained his left foot. However, Ty Lawson does say he expects to play Saturday versus the Dallas Mavericks.
And again, they have a back-to-back on Saturday, Sunday. So if you're desperate for assists, and this is how desperate I would have to be. Just somebody would have had to already pick up Jose Calderon. I would have to need assists really badly, and Jose Calderon has been picked up, and then I would think about picking up Ty Lawson. And that's simply because he plays 2 games Saturday, Sunday.
If you could get a Shane Larkin on the waiver wire or Ty Lawson, which one would you take?
Well, it just depends on which games we're talking about, right? Because, again, Ty Lawson has 2 games on Saturday, Sunday. Brooklyn plays only on Saturday. I would probably still that's a tough call. I don't know. I would probably still take Shane Larkin.
Yeah, I mean it really does suck because you get 5 minutes. I was watching this game, in the 5 minutes he looked okay, but what can you tell for 5 freaking minutes? It's
I think it's too risky. I don't think you're picking him up. I think you're finding some other option.
The only reason you would do it is just to do it, and then because you want to claim victory in a really crazy way and have a great story to tell. So 10 years from now, you could be remember the time I picked up that bum Ty Lawson with his 7 DUIs coming out after, signing with the team, playing 5 minutes. It'd be a good story to tell,
Yeah.
Other than that, probably stay away. Although for next week, definitely see what he does this weekend. Next up, Jimmy Butler, Mark, for the Bulls. He was supposed to play yesterday. He had that swelling in his knee. Came up, I think it was after he even lineup locked yesterday. It was a really late scratch. Came out of nowhere. Killed a lot of people in DFS. Also for season long, that had to hurt. As Jimmy Butler's probably one of your best players if you do own him. The good news was he said he's feeling better today as the swelling went down. But his status for Thursday is still unclear. Each Moore is an okay option if Butler's out. Obviously, guys like Derrick Rose see a massive uptick in usage, but Jimmy Butler, this one hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. If you drafted Jimmy Butler, it's tough to compete in the playoffs if he's not there, because he was, I'm sure if not your first pick, he was your second pick. That's tough. And we don't know what he's going to look like. Like, I don't expect a ton out of him. Do you?
Well, no, I do. That's why a lot of people were upset. Like Jimmy, in the game that I'm trying to look right now, Jimmy Butler, had the knee injury, then he came back and played, but he played a ton of minutes. I think he played 34, 35. Here, hold on. He played. That's not the right box score.
I got you in.
Where is the box score?
Jimmy Butler played 34 minutes versus Houston, which is.
And I think he ran into foul trouble, so he would have ended up playing more.
Yeah, he fouled out. You're right.
Right. So a lot of people are saying, they should have had him on a minutes limit, kept him to that 20, around 24 or whatever, because this I guess the knee is much worse than we thought. So
the weird thing is, so I don't know if they would have played him more. They probably would have. Like 34 is kind of reduced minutes for Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? Like, he leads the league in minutes. He plays closer to 40 than anybody else in the league. So, but yeah, I would have expected them to bring him along slowly. I don't think it's surprising that his knee had a setback after playing that many minutes. But
especially Mark, consider the pace of the game. You're playing Houston. It's going to be a really up and down game. It's going to put a lot of pressure on that knee. So it's a bad situation now.
Yeah.
Next up is a big fat gravy juice. Jared Sullinger has a skin infection and was in the hospital. He was released, but Brad Stevens is hopeful he can play Wednesday versus Memphis. He's probably going to be a game time decision. If he doesn't go, I mean, you can look at a guy like Tyler Zeller as an interesting streaming option.
I thought this was. I thought you were talking about Jared Dudley, and I was wondering why Brad Stevens was commenting on him.
No, Jared Dudley's days. That rest in peace for him. Now that my boy Markeith, is starting. Jared Dudley, there's no reason to even mention him on the show anymore, man. Finally.
All right.
But yeah, so without gravy juice, Sullinger, you can look at Tyler Zeller as an interesting streaming option. Amir Johnson, okay. And even Kelly Olynyk now is supposed to come back tomorrow. So he's an intriguing guy as well if gravy juice Sullinger's out. Yeah,
Olynyk would be the one I'm most interested in there if Sullinger is out.
Would you want to see Olynyk play a game first, though, since he's been out for a little bit?
He's such a funky player that
he's similar to Mirotic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like it almost doesn't matter when he's playing or how much he's playing. Like, he has good and bad games up and down. I could just see him having a big game with Sullinger out. If you're playing, like, it's always going to be risky to play Olynyk in 1 and 2 game spurts. So I don't know that the game back from injury is any worse than any other time. I'm just looking at their schedule. They have a game Wednesday and Friday, so you could potentially pick him up and get 2 games out of it if he's available.
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing you got to do is make sure that gravy juice isn't going to play.
Yeah, and I kind of expect him to play. If Brad Stevens is saying he's hopeful, he will.
Yeah, I mean, probably, because, I mean, they don't even
play. It's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, plus they don't even play Sullinger that big minutes anymore. He's getting like 24 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, probably you could probably stay away from the Boston guys. Interesting news here, Mark. I don't know if it's for this week, maybe next week, but Brandon Knight, with that bad groin injury, has been out since January 19th. He had a full practice today, and he's supposed to be cleared to play soon. We don't have an exact timetable. That could be next game. It could be 2 games from now. It could be next week. But when he does, it's going to be interesting to see, how many minutes they let him play right off the bat. But it clearly kills guys like Ronnie Price and probably Archie Goodwin, I would think. Yeah,
I don't expect a lot from him. I'm the same thoughts as I was sharing about Jimmy Butler. But obviously Phoenix has less incentive to bring him back and play in big minutes right away. I would expect him to get in some games and maybe rehab. And I don't think he's going to be worth much fantasy-wise the rest of the season.
Yeah, and remember, I mean, I guess he was still obviously relevant to own, but he was not playing that well. Everyone thought when Bledsoe went out, he was going to put up monster stats, and he wasn't really doing that.
Yeah. So I mean, if you held him to this point, keep holding him, I guess. But I think the prospects of him actually producing in a way that would make you happy that you held on to him are pretty low. That's a pretty low probability play at this point.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm with you. So Philly, we've finally got some news from Philly. They rested they sat out Okafor, Noel, Stauskas, Kendall Marshall the last couple of games. Nerlens Noel looks like he's going to be back to play tomorrow, but Okafor is not dealing with a shin injury. He's going to miss Wednesday's game versus the Rockets, and actually there's no timetable for Okafor's return. So this sounds like he could be out for an extended period of time. So ding, 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 ding. This makes Jeremiah Grant a really nice option in terms of streaming and season long and also in DFS. So now the fact that one of the big guys is going to be back, Nerlens, that still hurts Grant's minutes a little bit, but I still think Grant's an intriguing play with Okafor. Again, remember, he fills up the stat sheet. He's not going to score a lot of points for you probably, but he can do a lot of different things. So I think he's a nice play, especially because Okafor is going to probably be out not only tomorrow but additional games.
Yeah.
Norris Cole, Mark, God, so much news. Norris Cole with a lower back is listed as questionable for Wednesday's game, but he played 40 minutes yesterday and he dominated. He played tremendous. That Pelicans team, man, they're really
depleted.
Yeah, they're really depleted. But guys, if you have a Drew Holiday right now, Norris Cole, obviously Anthony Davis, you're loving life because there's shots galore right now. I'm still a little perplexed why Ryan Anderson isn't getting more minutes. What the hell happened between him and Elvin Gentry? I don't understand that. But other than that, those guys are really great plays right now. So I expect.
Yeah, he's probably the first fantasy relevant player you've mentioned, standard league guy that you really get excited about so far.
Who?
You know what I mean? Norris Cole.
Yeah. So even though he's questionable, I expect him to play tomorrow. If he doesn't play, dude, take a flyer on Tony Douglas. I'm telling you, when Tony Douglas gets minutes, he can really play. So if for some reason Norris Cole can't play,
no one can catch a break in New Orleans, right? Norris Cole plays, he has a great game, and now he's questionable.
Yeah, I mean that's just the kind of year they've had, right? I mean nothing's
terrible. I feel bad for him. Yeah.
I actually don't. I think this is going to work out to really their benefit because they're going to get a really good draft pick.
It's not that good of a pick though, surprisingly.
Why?
They just kind of moved up that far enough in the standing. I don't think they're going to get a franchise changer of any sort. They are currently 1, 2, 3, 6th, and they're tied. They're basically they had the same number of losses as the 10th worst team.
Yeah.
So they could end up with the 10th pick pretty easily.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, they need young pieces. They need talent. Yeah. I mean, obviously Tyreek.
But there was talk early in the season, what if they're one of the 2 worst teams, and what if they get Ben Simmons, and how awesome would that be? But they played just well enough to kind of play themselves out of drafting any sort of franchise cornerstone, I think.
Yeah, you're actually probably right. So then it has been the worst year in all fronts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been. They couldn't even get that right.
We won too many games at the end.
Yeah, so sorry if you're a Pelicans fan. We're almost done with the news, I swear. Lou Williams, dealing with the hamstring issue, is going to miss at least the next 2 games for the Lakers. So again, D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Clarkson are your guys to play there. Jody Meeks getting closer to a return, but again,
who cares?
I shouldn't have even said that. So my apologies to all. In all seriousness, I'm a big Jody Meeks fan. He had that great year for the Lakers, and then he signed a pretty nice contract with Detroit, and he got beat out for the starting job last year by KCP. Then he was injured I think he actually was injured, and that's why KCP started the year. And then KCP played well. So even when Jody Meeks came back, he's just always been fighting. His back's been up against the wall, and he hasn't been able to catch a break for Detroit. I really liked him a lot. So That sucks. It's now been 2 years where he's had like no impact for that team. Finally, Ben McLemore, who I can't stand.
You're not playing Ben McLemore even if he's healthy.
No, you're not. But the guy, if he's out, I do really like Bellinelli. I don't know what Bellinelli's ownership is. So be on the lookout for Bellinelli if you need a guy, if he's still available. If BMAC's out. Finally, Marco
Bellinelli is owned in 10% of Yahoo leagues.
Wow. I think Bellinelli's he's a good play, man. If BMAC is out, he can give you points, he can give you threes.
Yeah.
All right. Mark's not excited about him, but maybe more of a DFS guy. I mean, he's definitely a guy that I'd look to in DFS if BMAC's out and Sack has a good matchup. Finally, Mark, David Lee. Rick Carlisle today said he's probably going to start David Lee some games coming up for the Mavs. Depending on the matchup, he wants to still start Zaza versus quote-unquote the Bruisers, and then he wants to start Lee versus glass-type figures. Now, that's not a quote. I made that up about the glass-type figures.
What does that mean? I don't understand that.
A guy like made of glass.
I see.
Yeah. So, basically, this is good news if you're looking to pick up David Lee or if you somehow already did pick him up. In 7 games, his last 7 games, averaging 11.6 points, 9 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1 block, 0.7 steals. So if he's gonna start, get a decent amount of minutes, probably in that 26 to 28 range. He's a guy probably you can look to stream or just pick up, man.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's probably pretty good at pickup at this point. Again, you're focusing on, you got to focus on the categories that he's good at, which is really only 3. I know that he had that big block game, but if history is any sort of guide here, it's points, rebounds, and field goal percentage. If those can help you, go right ahead and pick him up. But don't pick him up thinking he's going to get assists, blocks, or steals. I don't expect those to be there for him.
So if you could have Taj Gibson or David Lee, who do you want right now?
And again, I think we talked about this on Sunday, but it entirely depends this time of year on what stats I need. Like if I wanted blocks, let's say I needed a couple extra blocks, I would go Taj Gibson. If I was wanting to focus more on my points or field goal percentage, I would go with David Lee. Even though Taj Gibson shoots a good field goal percentage, I think David Lee is going to be more influential there than Taj Gibson.
You know what? I'm an idiot. I don't even know why I asked you that question. It's such a dumb question to ask. Because
you're really being hard on yourself, man.
Well, like you said, it's so contingent on what you need, what the schedule is. It's kind of like it's
no, but that's good. I mean, I think that's what everybody needs to realize. Like,
yeah, I guess
you really need to just key on the stats that your team needs and not worry about what rankings say or who's the better player at this point of the season. Like, I end up picking guys that fall outside my top 100 all the time. At this point of the year, just because I need to stream somebody, and I really need 2 steals, and so I'm just going to pick up Tony Allen, or which would have been a great move, by the way.
Dear God, where did that come? Yeah, I mean, speaking of Tony Allen, where did that come from? Missed 8 games, and it comes back and just delivers a beast of a performance against Cleveland.
Best game in 3 years, but
yeah, I mean
sometimes you get lucky like that, but we would have said, hey, just pick up Tony Allen if you just need steals.
I mean, I was actually furious because he was about 1% owned in DFS, and everyone who won like the big tournaments that I played yesterday, like who won 25, 30 grand, whatever, they all had Tony Allen, and I wanted to go to each of their apartments or houses and punch them in the face because there's no like legitimate reason you would have played Tony Allen or logical reason to play him.
I guess the only thing was like he gets up for guarding those big guys, but I wouldn't expect that to translate into offensive efficiency.
Well, also coming off of 8 games with a hamstring, you figure his minutes are going to be limited. Yeah. Also, I didn't expect that Memphis was going to be out 7 players. I mean,
that's the other thing.
But still.
All right, Daniel, so I want to give some pickups to our listeners for the Wednesday and Thursday games. Before we do that, of all the guys we talked about, are there any of them that you want to focus on targeting in no halftime challenges this week? Like, I was thinking Norris Cole would be a pretty good option.
Dude, I mean, I really do love those Lakers guys. I love Jordan Clarkson. I love D'Angelo Russell. Yeah, I mean, Norris Cole, as long as he plays, I really like him. You're right. I mean, I'm totally fine with Norris Cole. And one guy I would not target is Ty Lawson. Even David Lee is a guy you could probably.
Yeah, David Lee would be a good one. I was thinking of him as well.
You could probably do like a David Lee versus Ben McLemore matchup.
Those are both guys we talked about. Yeah, give that a shot. I think, David Lee you could put up against a fair number of people. You have to remember, and I think maybe one of the reasons you're excited about David Lee is because I feel like DFS is more weighted towards points and rebounds than standard season-long fantasy leagues are, right? Like you're just going for a total points amount, and I feel like that sort of marginalizes blocks and steals to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he may be a little bit more of an asset in DFS than standard leagues, but look, I still think he's completely a legitimate guy you want to stream or look seriously at picking up if you need, like you said, if you need the stats that he can produce, which are points and rebounds. I mean,
yeah.
So
but my only point is he's even more attractive, I think, in a no halftime challenge where you don't have to worry about his limitations on the defensive end or the defensive stats end. You get to enjoy the production he gives you in points and rebounds and move on. So I think he's a great option. Who I'd actually try to pit him against as he comes back is Okafor. Because with that injury, whenever he plays again, I feel like Okafor is going to come along slowly. And I think when people see that David Lee versus Okafor matchup, they're gonna for whatever reason, people still are really high on Okafor as a fantasy option. So that's probably where I would go. All right, let me get into the pickups for Wednesday and Thursday's game. We're going to talk about each day separately, and then look at the combined total of those two games to see if we've got anybody on a back-to-back for you. One thing to note, though, Wednesday, Daniel, is a pretty heavy night in the NBA. There's 9 games. So before you pick up anybody thinking that you want to stream them on the Wednesday, make sure your roster you can't already fill out an entire starting lineup, because there's no sense in picking up a player if your starting lineup is already full. That's fair, right?
Completely fair.
Yeah, you're still.
Also, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do all the young people on Twitter always use the word fam? Like, yo, hit me up, fam. I'm having a great night tonight, fam.
You're asking the wrong person.
I know.
It feels to me like you're maybe reading your Twitter replies rather than listening to me.
Well, honestly, what I was doing is I was checking. I got a tweet from someone because one of the plays that I recommended is doing really well tonight. And
nice job. Who was it?
Carmelo had a nice night.
Nice.
So even though they got killed by Denver, and so I was just looking at my own scores in DFS, and I'm doing okay, but a lot hinges on. I played John. Washington is playing at Portland. I did a lot of John Wall and Lillard in my lineup. So it's always fun when you can have a game and you own both guys.
Right.
Watching the game, it's just you're getting points every possession. It's awesome. So anyway.
So for Wednesday night, if you do have a roster spot available, the guy I would most recommend picking up is Mario Chalmers. Now, Dan already mentioned how the Grizzlies are without several key players. Chalmers had a great game. I think at this point they're going to be forced to play him big minutes. We saw with a few of their players out that Chalmers still wasn't really getting a ton of run. But now that Mike Conley is also out, in addition to Zach Randolph and Brandon Wright and Matt Barnes, not to mention the couple of guys they traded away, it's pretty much an all-hands-on-deck situation in Memphis. He played 40 minutes on Monday night. He had 17 points, 7 assists, 4 steals, 4 rebounds, and a three-pointer. We know that Conley is out at least on Wednesday night, so I think you pick up Chalmers and try to try to put him in your starting lineup. Even I would say, even if that means you have to play him over one of your normal guys, one of your guys that you would keep owning long term, I think Chalmers is worth playing. Any thoughts on Chalmers there, Dan?
Dude, I mean, as I've been saying, I think for months on this show, or at least weeks, I think he's almost a must-own player, especially with Conley out.
Yeah, Conley, because there was that stretch there where like he was still getting 18 to 20 minutes, even though it seemed like they should be playing them together.
Right.
And now that Conley's out, I think he's going to start and he's going to play 35 plus minutes.
And he's going to shoot the ball. He's not afraid of anything. He's going to shoot. He's got a high usage rate, and he can do other things too. He can get you assists. He can get you steals. He can fill up the stat sheet. I mean, I'm all aboard Conley tomorrow. I love Conley tomorrow.
Yeah. And he's only.
I'm sorry. I love Chalmers tomorrow.
Don't play Conley. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
He's not available anyway. But the other guys I would think about targeting if Chalmers isn't available, Gerald Bayless with Michael Carter-Williams out. I think he's an interesting guy to pick up. Probably doesn't have the upside of Chalmers, but gives you sort of similar numbers. The great thing about Chalmers is I think he's going to get you plenty of steals, which is always a hard category to target if you need it. He's going to get you assists, which is also difficult. Like I could see him easily getting 6 assists and 2 steals for you. Bayless isn't going to quite get there, but he probably get you a steal and 4 assists or something, which is still kind of hard to find on the waiver wire. And then you mentioned this guy already, Daniel, but I'll mention him again. Jeremy Grant in Philadelphia. He's not going to get you a ton of points, as Dan said, but probably pick up at least 1 or 2 blocks and a steal. So if you need defensive stats, I would look that way. But again, maybe on Wednesday night, you don't need anybody. If you've got a full lineup, the only guy I would target as a pickup is Chalmers. On Thursday night is sort of the opposite. There are only 4 games on Thursday night, so you'll probably have lots of empty roster spots. The number one guy I would think about picking up, and I mentioned him before, but Gary Harris plays on Thursday. He's owned in less than half of Yahoo leagues. He should be pretty much a must-own at this point. Do you agree with that, Dan? Is he still a stream option in your mind, or are you wanting to own Gary Harris?
No, I mean, the second Gallo went out for the race, and we've heard mixed reports on if Gallo could actually return this year. But yeah, the second Gallo went down, Gary Harris became a must-own player in my eyes.
Again, steals, 3-pointers, points, all those good things, and he is just playing a boatload of minutes right now. I think you want as much exposure to him as you can. Yeah,
I mean, if you look at tonight was kind of a line that I think you're probably going to see from him. So he played 33 minutes. They did blow out the Knicks, so the minutes are maybe a little bit down. He played 33 minutes at 16 points. 2 3-pointers, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. I mean,
he's had 7 straight games where he's had at least 15 points. Yeah. And that's sort of starting to feel like his floor, which is really excellent. And then the 3-pointers and steals are also there. And he gets you a few rebounds and assists, not a ton, but enough to help out there. So I think he's a must-own. If he's already taken, the pickings – it kind of gets tough to figure out who to pick up from there. I think you're looking at maybe you try your hand again with Ginobili. Dennis Schroeder is an option. PJ Tucker is an option, and he actually plays both nights. So if you're looking for somebody, if you have limited pickup options and you need somebody both Wednesday and Thursday, PJ Tucker is probably your best guy to pick up. Or really, anybody who's available on Phoenix, who's going to get you 2 games there. Taj Gibson is an option on Thursday night. Even somebody like Brandon Bass, if sort of all those more well-known players that we just talked about are owned in your league, it's an aggressive league or a deep league. Brandon Bass, you could do worse than his. He'll probably give you 8 points and 5 rebounds and a block and maybe a steal. Shoots good percentages, so he's not going to hurt your percentages that way. If you're looking to just pick up an extra game and there's nothing left on the waiver wire, I think I'd go with him. So, and again, if you're looking for guys who are playing both nights, I think you're looking at guys like PJ Tucker, Iman Shumpert, Ronnie Price, Matthew Dellavedova, maybe some Mozgov if you're desperate. But any thoughts on any of those names, Dan? I know I reeled off a bunch of guys.
No, I mean it's a tough. Wednesday, Thursday is always a tough one because, like you said, Wednesday there's just so many games, so you typically won't need to stream someone.
It's the Thursday games that usually
Yeah,
need somebody.
Thursday ones. I mean, no, I
But
mean,
again, like I think you go with Chalmers even if you don't need to fill in a game on your, like I would set your worst. I would put your worst guy in your starting lineup on the bench and play Chalmers on Wednesday.
Well, also the thing about Chalmers is like I'd rather have Chalmers, let's say for one game, than like an okay or an average player or below average player for two games.
Yeah, so like in this case, you would rather have Chalmers than like Iman Shumpert.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that.
The only other guy I would say, for one guy, if you really do need a guy on Thursday to stream, DJ Augustine from Denver. He's always
playing pretty well.
Yeah, he's always an interesting guy. Like tonight, he got 6 assists. He normally can help you with points and assists are the two main things. Probably a couple 3-pointers maybe as well. So he's a guy that I would also look at for that Thursday night. But no, I mean for the most part, I mean I agree with you. It's just I'm looking at that Thursday slate, and it's that Jimmy Butler news. Like you just got to hope he plays on Thursday.
Yeah, or else you're picking up Etuan Moore.
Yeah, Etuan Moore becomes a really nice guy to pick up. Yeah, so it's.
Yeah. Which normally we would say, we don't care about Etuan Moore, but again, where you only have 4 games that night.
Yep. I mean,
if you have unlimited options, you might as well fill in your starting lineup.
Yep. No, I mean that's like usually the biggest night to try to take advantage of. I mean, like it's amazing when you can, like if your opponent could have 1 or 2 players, and if you have like 8 or 9 going, or whatever, 6 or 7, it's just you can really have a drastic impact on the week.
Yeah, so I think that's all we have for you listeners at this point. Hopefully our advice that we gave you on Monday's show and today's show will help you either get in position to qualify for the playoffs at the end of this week, or if you're in the playoffs, it will hopefully help you advance. Tune again on Friday's show. We'll give you some plays for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Guys to target, mostly we're going to be looking at guys who have 2 games on the weekend, whether it's a Friday, Saturday, or a Saturday, Sunday, or a Friday, Sunday set of games to help you prepare.
Friday is going to be an important show, man. We'll make sure our listeners are well prepared to dominate that weekend stretch and claim victory.
Yep, finish off your matchup. That's the most important time of the week. So
yeah, and the good thing about Saturday and Sunday, lots of games.
Yep, absolutely.
So there'll be lots of players you'll be able to pick up. It looks like on Sunday 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, only 5 games on Sunday, so that Sunday is going to be very interesting. You're going to have everyone in your league probably going after the same guys.
Yeah, so you're going to want to know on Friday who you want to pick up for Sunday's game.
Yep.
We will give that to you. But between now and then, good luck as you pursue the playoffs, or as you work to win your first round matchup. We hope it works out for you. If you have questions, don't forget to hit us up on Twitter. You can find me at Mark F. Roberts. That is Mark with a C. And Daniel, where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Daniel A. Green 1, green like the color, Mark.
Indeed. All right, guys. Have a good break. Enjoy some basketball. Good luck in your fantasy basketball matchups.
All right, later, guys.